The neighbor's window. I never believed in the supernatural. Not until 3 weeks ago. Now I lie awake each night, wondering if the scratching at my bedroom door is just my imagination or something else, something that followed me home. It started innocently enough. I had just moved into a modest apartment on the outskirts of Portland, Unit 427 in the Westlake complex. The building was older but well-maintained, with those thin walls typical of places built in the 70s. My first few nights were uneventful. I was focused on unpacking and setting up my new life after the divorce. On the fourth night, I noticed something peculiar about the apartment directly across from mine. While preparing dinner, I glanced out my kitchen window and into the window of Unit 426. The lights were on, but something felt off. The apartment seemed vacant. No furniture, no decorations, just empty space with bright overhead lighting. Yet I could have sworn I saw movement, like a shadow passing quickly between rooms. I didn't think much of it. New neighbors still moving in, probably. I went back to cutting vegetables. Later that night, around 2 a.m., I woke to the sound of tapping. Steady, deliberate tapping, like someone drumming their fingers against glass. I got up, disoriented from sleep, and followed the noise to my kitchen window. The tapping stopped immediately. In the darkness, I could see that the lights in Unit 426 were still on. All of them, despite the late hour. I squinted, trying to make out any details, but saw nothing unusual. Just that empty apartment with its sterile lighting. The next morning, I ran into the building manager in the hallway and casually asked about my neighbors. "Oh, you're in 427? Nice unit," he said while sorting through his mail. "Got good afternoon light." "Thanks. I was wondering about the tenant across from me, in 426. He looked up from his mail, frowning slightly. 426? That unit's been vacant for almost a year now. A chill ran through me. But the lights, they're on at night. Must be the automatic timers. We keep basic utilities running in vacant units. Helps with showings." He shrugged and walked away, leaving me standing there, confused and slightly unsettled. That evening, I made a point to watch Unit 426 more carefully. From sunset until about midnight, everything remained normal, lights on, empty apartment. I eventually dozed off on my couch, but woke suddenly at 3:17 a.m., according to the digital clock on my cable box. The tapping had returned, more insistent this time. I approached my kitchen window cautiously. The tapping stopped again, but this time, I saw something that made my blood run cold. In the window directly opposite mine stood a figure, just a silhouette really, dark against the bright background of the empty apartment. It didn't move. It just stood there, seemingly staring in my direction. I backed away slowly, heart pounding. I told myself it must be a maintenance worker doing a late-night check, or maybe someone from management showing the apartment to a potential tenant, despite the ungodly hour. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, I called the leasing office and asked specifically about Unit 426, describing what I'd seen. The woman on the phone sounded confused. "Sir, that unit has been vacant since last March. No one has access except management, and we certainly don't do maintenance or showings at 3 a.m. "But I saw someone in there," I insisted. There was a long pause before she responded, her voice noticeably cooler. "I can assure you, Unit 426 is empty. Perhaps you were looking at a different apartment." I knew what I saw. I wasn't crazy. That night, I drew my kitchen blinds closed and tried to forget about it. Around midnight, I was drifting off to sleep when my phone buzzed with a text. "Unknown number. I can still see you." My entire body went rigid. This had to be a prank, a wrong number. I turned my phone off and tried to sleep, but every sound in the apartment, the hum of the refrigerator, the occasional creak of settling floorboards, seemed magnified, threatening. In the morning, I examined the text again in the sanity-restoring light of day. I tried calling the number back, but an automated voice informed me that the number was not in service. I told myself I was being paranoid. New place, living alone for the first time in years. It was natural to be on edge. That evening, I went to a bar a few blocks away. staying until closing time. I didn't want to be in my apartment any longer than necessary, especially not at night. When I finally returned, around 2 a.m., the lights in Unit 426 were off for the first time since I'd moved in. Somehow, this was more unsettling than seeing them on. As I fumbled with my keys at my door, I heard something from inside apartment 426, a soft humming, like someone singing quietly to themselves. I froze, key halfway in the lock. The humming stopped abruptly, followed by what sounded like approaching footsteps from inside the supposedly vacant unit. I burst into my apartment, slammed the door shut, and locked it. I was breathing hard, my hands shaking. This was insane. I needed to document this, to prove I wasn't losing my mind. I set up my phone to record video, placing it on the kitchen counter with a view of my window, and, beyond it, the window of Unit 426. Then I went to bed, leaving all the lights on in my apartment. The next morning, I checked the recording. For the first few hours, nothing happened, just the dark outline of my window against the wall. But at exactly 3:17 a.m., the video showed the lights in Unit 426 turning on, and there in the window was the silhouette again. It stood motionless for nearly 10 minutes before raising one hand and pressing it against the glass. Then slowly, deliberately, it began tapping. I couldn't stay in my apartment another night. I packed a bag and checked into a motel on the other side of town. From there, I called a friend who worked for the city and begged him to look into the history of the Westlake complex, specifically Unit 426. He called back that evening. "Man, I don't know what's going on with your apartment building, but you might want to consider finding a new place," he said, his voice unusually somber. "Why? What did you find?" "About a year ago, there was an incident in 426. A woman, mid-30s, lived there alone. Apparently, she had severe mental health issues, became convinced someone was watching her through her kitchen window. The report says she covered all her windows with aluminum foil, stopped leaving her apartment completely." My mouth went dry. "What happened to her?" "She killed herself, hung herself in the kitchen, directly in front of the window. The report mentioned she left a note. Now I'll be the one watching." I felt sick. Did it say what time they found her?" "Yeah, actually. A neighbor heard a noise and called the super to check on her. Time of death was estimated at 3:17 a.m. I stayed at the motel for another week while looking for a new apartment. I never went back to Unit 427 except once, during daylight hours, with the building manager accompanying me as I quickly gathered my essential belongings. I didn't look out the kitchen window. I couldn't. I found a new place across town, a modern building with thick walls and privacy glass. I thought I'd left it all behind me, but last night, at exactly 3:17 a.m., I woke to the sound of tapping on my bedroom window, even though I'm on the 14th floor, and my phone, which was on my nightstand, lit up with a text from that same unknown number. "I followed you home." The tapping hasn't stopped since. It's getting louder now, more insistent, and sometimes, between the taps, I hear humming. Dear listener, thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. Many more terrifying, mysterious, and thrilling stories are coming soon. See you again very soon.